We do apologise for the slight technical issues we've been having, but we're here, we're live, and we've got a battle for the race lead here on lap 2 of 44 at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here on the iRacing Grand Prix Series, streaming live on iRacing Live and brought to you by Racebot TV. Here, hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sparey with Connery, Maddick, Frederick Rasmussen started on pole, beat everybody by 0.4 of a second, and with Jamie Fluke in front with a stunning start. It's now up to Rasmussen to try and find a way back through into Rivage, the long looping 180-degree right hand, and no way for him to get through against the driver of Jamie Fluke, who will hold position in the Apex Racing UK machine as things stand at the moment. Battles going on further down though. Jerome Kvakel versus Matteo Calistani for position number 7 out on circuit, and Kvakel from the back of the grid is doing Connery what he does all the time, and he makes positions very, very quickly.
Yeah, he's up 8 positions already, and we're only on the 2nd lap of this event. This is basically what Jerome Kvakel does week in, week out if he doesn't get a qualifying time set on the board, as is what happened here. And obviously Spa is one of these tracks that's pretty difficult to set a clean qualifying time on because of the strict off-track rule here, as he tries to look for a gap over Matteo Calistani. He's still not going to get it, but he's going to get the run coming out of the second stabilo, maybe making it side-by-side for once. Surely not this early on in the race, but Jerome Kvakel going to be riding right on the back of the gearbox there, Matteo Calistani. He's going to have a look for the move coming down to the bus stop now. There he goes inside.
Inside and there, thank you very much. We'll say the driver of Jerome Kvakel, lovely, lovely move, and Calistani now under pressure from Michael Partington as lap 3 now starts to commence with DRS in activation. So we'll focus on the race leader just for a little bit, because Jamie Fluke does not have that gap, 0.2 of a second between himself and Rasmussen, and now Rasmussen with a great opportunity up Eau Rouge, left, right, and left up Radion, and here's the opportunity. DRS flap will go wide open for the Core Sim Racing driver. He will go at over 330 kilometers an hour, 340 kilometers an hour. Looks to the inside, but there was the ERS defense by the driver of Jamie Fluke, making sure there was no way that the driver of Frederick Rasmussen had a way through. Replay of the start, then what happened, and Jamie Fluke just got the perfect getaway here, Connery.
Yep, he did. He started on the outside line, but that didn't really phase Jamie Fluke. It's a fantastic launch from him. It wasn't really the greatest of starts from Frederick Rasmussen either, but it wasn't a terrible start from Rasmussen. It's just Fluke just got the power down so much easier, managed to do it around the outside coming into the last source of turn 1.
Yes, he did. Isaac Price loses the position then to the driver of Ricardo Orozco, the championship leader, up into position number 5 for Positive Sim Racing. And that new team certainly helping out, playing against the big boys. All drivers except Giuseppe Ragusa inside of your top 6. And also Ricardo Orozco are now in a situation where they don't have pro licenses. We are back live looking at just how this field is stacking up. And there are drivers here who are maybe having ambitions. Drivers like the 4 of Moritz Lohner in position number 7 right now, looking to make that charge back through. It's not often that we talk about Hoyksingveld Core Motorsports in the same circle, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic to see Moritz coming into this Sunday afternoon race here in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of battling back through the field. There was Joshua P. Rogers and Christian Steele just having a little bit of a swapping positions there, coming through the second stabilo. And news with Evan Lathoris. He's had a couple of issues at the start of this race. He had a little bit of contact with another driver coming into last source, which is why he's a little bit down through the field than he otherwise would be. But he has an absolute train of 4 cars ahead of him.
Yes, he does. Live timing and scoring available at Racebot TV. Process timing, and Rasmussen's around into the wall at Radion. A massive, massive moment for him on his roof. Let's get a replay on screen of that. And that is the inexperience in a Formula 1 machine for Frederick Rasmussen. Gets himself up through the field, gets himself through that left, and it's snap oversteer that sends him around, and a heavy, heavy impact into the wall. The same place that I believe it was Marcus Ericsson had that big incident a year ago, Connery.
Yeah, and it just looked like the car just completely broke away from him. He was fine just over most of the curve, but when the car settled again, it just like spat him back out heavy into that tire wall at the top of Eau Rouge Radion there, and upside down on the roll hoop in the middle of the track. He'll take the toe for that one to make sure that no one is collected in what was a single car incident there. But yeah, Rasmussen, he was looking oh so quick, but his race is now completely and utterly over.
Yeah, his race is over, and that is going to be a big, big shame. Isaac Price, though, versus the driver of Ricardo Orozco in the early stages of this one. Orozco had already made his way through, but now he's under pressure from that driver of Isaac Price, arguably the best value for money in sim racing today, looking to make that run here through towards Blanchimont. This is a difficult section, especially with the wind that we've got going on here today, Connery, because it's coming in from the east at 10 kilometers an hour. That's a headwind heading to Blanchimont. It makes overtaking a lot more difficult down into the final chicane.
Yep, it does, but the wind is relatively light here at, well, it starts gusting up to around about 9 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour it is right now, so I don't think drivers would be thinking it's too much of an issue here. It only becomes an issue when you get very, very heavy gusts of wind, which can upset these very downforce and aero-dependent McLaren MP430s. But Isaac Price is not going to be in the striking distance here coming into the bus stop of Ricardo Orozco here. And there's also going to be Barcelona not too far away from these guys either, so it could be a 3-car fight for P4 coming up. And also the two drivers ahead also of Pasillas and Giuseppe Ragusa, also relatively close on track as well.
Yeah, and the difference, though, 0.4 of a second quicker was Paschalis Gergis on that last lap. The Greek driver looking to close down Jamie Fluke, who is pulling away with a 1:49.2 on that last lap, quicker than Paschalis Gergis as well. So there is a case to be made that Jamie Fluke will try and waltz away with a victory here. But of course, one pit stop you feel over this full distance, that's going to be something just to keep an eye out on during this event, because the pit stop window you'd feel would open here today, Connery, around about lap 18 on circuit.
Yep, lap 18 to 20 is when we expect to see most of your drivers heading their way down onto pit road. And if you're asking why, oh wait, why don't they just pit a half distance? It's because the lighter fuel load in this car means that the tyres wear just a little bit less for the second stint, which is why you can extend the second stint for longer than the first stint. But meanwhile, battle still going on between Ricardo Orozco and Isaac Price coming through No Name Corner. Isaac Price is getting closer and closer lap by lap. 1/10 of a second was the advantage last time by. But he has to just find a gap and just absolutely exploit it when it appears.
Yeah, he has to exploit it now as he makes the run into that final chicane. The right and then the left. Lochner runs very, very wide and will lose quite a bit of time there taking that wider line. It will allow Jerome Fakel maybe a hint of an opportunity to get back into play in this event and get himself a chance. 1.4 seconds the gap between Fakel of Origin Front Row Sim Racing and Lochner of Hoytingveld Core Motorsports. Isaac Price, though, versus the driver of Ricardo Orozco. Up the hill they will go for the 6th time out of 44, and Price a little bit further back this time. The gap was 0.7 of a second, and it seemed that there was no real discernible change between the two drivers, and already defensive line being taken by Ricardo Orozco. He wants to make sure that there's no draft available for the driver of Isaac Price, who's getting a little bit twitchy there into Lake Coon.
He is, and well, we just saw Frederick Rasmussen just mentioned in the chat that we have here that he hit a bump at the top of Eau Rouge that sent him flying into that tyre barrier on the outside of the track there. And well, it's a very, very unfortunate way to go out of this race, especially with how quick he was going, especially in qualifying. But that's just racing sometimes, as Isaac Price and Ricardo Orozco head their way through Pouhon. Again, Isaac Price is actually dropping back a little bit. Maybe that's an effect of the dirty air coming through Pouhon. It's a very downforce-dependent corner, and if you're following a car through there, you just have absolutely no front-end grip, and just causes Isaac Price to just drop back a little bit.
It's a nightmare setup circuit because you have long straights at the opening sector and the third sector, but you have that tight and twisty second sector that if you're not able to hook that up properly, you are never going to be close enough to ever have an opportunity to make the move. And for Isaac Price, he is now starting to struggle to get back onto the rear of Ricardo Orozco and to make that move. Battle, though, going on further down. Manu Domingo now against Christian Steele in the number 9 machine. The 9 machine currently in position number 12, up 3 positions as things stands right now, but Domingo looking to get back net even. The issue being for Domingo is that he had a spin on the opening lap at the corner without a name. Contact it was with Josh Rogers.
Yes, it was, and it's going to have to be a recovery drive here for Manu Domingo and the PSR team here. It doesn't look like he has much damage to that car, so he should be fine in terms of pace, as he does a 150.3 that last time by. It was a 151.4 for Christian Steele. Manu Domingo going 1 second a lap faster, just over 1 second a lap faster than Christian Steele at this moment in time. I think this pass will be relatively simple when it comes down to it. He'll have DRS coming down the Camel Straight, but first he has to negotiate Eau Rouge, which he does so very, very amicably there, and it's going to be DRS active now for the PSR driver, but I don't think he's close enough to make the move into Le Coulomb, as actually he's going to back out of it.
Yes, he isn't close enough then to get down to brakes, but he closes it right up to the rear and almost contact between the pair of them as they head into the Lacoum section, rounding Malmedy, and a big wiggle from Christian Steele gets all out of the power and lets him go. So the pressure was too much. Domingo easily makes his way through then up into position number 12 out on circuit. 19 drivers here start this race. We've already lost 2, René Venderbosch and also Frederick Rasmussen as well. But now there is even bigger battles on circuit. Moritz Lohner is being caught by the driver of Jerome Kvekel. He took 2/10 out of him in that last lap, and Kvekel, a driver who has that pedigree from parts elsewhere, is looking to try and prove himself. Some of the biggest names in sim racing are racing this one.
Yep, drivers in the World Championship Grand Prix Series and drivers that hope to compete in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, all in this race right now. And you talk of Jerome Kvekel, it's actually going to be Michael Partington that's also going to be catching Jerome Kvekel here. So this whole midfield just inside your top 10 is all going to be bunching up. There's actually slow run off the corner for Ricardo Orozco. Isaac Price looking for the gap around the outside of Les Source. He has to go very, very deep on the brakes here, trying to carry momentum around the outside, but he's not going to do it. And this has just brought Moritz Lohner and Jerome Kvekel into this battle.
Cut back didn't quite work, but is setting the run here up through Eau Rouge and Radion to make sure he's got the best run possible against the driver of Ricardo Orozco. Orozco gets a much better run though, a much tighter, more narrow run through Eau Rouge and Radion, and that's going to mean that the driver of Isaac Price has a lot of work to do down the Kemmel Straight, or up the Kemmel Straight, shall I say. No opportunity to make a move, and that was very, very good defensive driving there from the driver of Ricardo Orozco. Made the mistake at the final corners by running wide at that chicane, and he's managed to hold on there, Connery, and just keep hold of 4th position as things stand.
Yeah, but let's see how long this will last, as this is a battle that's been going on for around about 5 laps at this point, and it doesn't show any signs of calming down right now as the cars of Moritz Lohner and Jerome Kvekel continue to catch up to the 2 cars ahead. And it was 0.3 of a second last time by that Moritz Lohner managed to catch up to the back of Isaac Price, and it was around about 0.3 of a second again that Jerome Kvekel managed to catch up to the back of Moritz Lohner. And so this whole field is currently, well, the whole mid part of this field actually, as I mentioned, is all bunching up right now because Orozco and Isaac Price can't sort out their differences.
Let's get the biggest moves and shakers up inside your top 10. You'll notice 2 big +10s of Jerome Kvekel and Michael Partington. Both didn't set a lap time, both up 10 positions overall. They are doing a very good job to make their way through the field, but it's focusing on the P4, P5, P6 battle that's going out at the moment. Orozco, Price and Lohner, Hoyksing Velcor Motorsports, Core Sim Racing, and Kvekel very deep on the brakes as Positive Sim Racing is the home now of the driver Ricardo Orozco, the former TNT Racing man. Orozco now across the line, difference in time, 0.6 of a second, 0.6 of a second, and it's 1 second back to Jerome Kvekel, so it's marginal now whether he will get DRS down the Kemmel Straight, and that's going to be crucial for Kvekel. He does need to get onto the back, but by the same point, he can afford to just stay back of this group a little bit, Connery, save his tyres, save his engine temperatures, and he'll have a much better working condition for the second half of this event.
That could be the course of action that Kvegel's going to be taking, as he actually does have DRS for coming down the Kemmel Straight, but if this trend of dropping back from this group continues, then he'll be losing that GRS on the next lap. As also he has Michael Partington to be concerned about all over it. Well, not all over his rear ring just yet, but Michael Partington really putting in some competitive lap times right now, as ahead of them, Ricardo Orozco and Isaac Price getting very, very close coming through the Rivage. Has to drop back for no name corner though. Looking down your field though, Evan Lathoris and Mark Warmington are having a little bit of a battle coming into the Lacoum chicane, and Lathoris is going to be the man that comes out on top.
Evan Lathoris then up, the new Gap SRT driver, past Mark A. Warmington then for position 14 overall. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, live timing and scoring is available at racebot.tv/timing. Make sure that you check that out to check on any drivers that we may miss up in the commentary box, or if you're just looking out for your favorite driver out on circuit. But right now, it's still pretty much Train City, but at the front of the field, Fluke has already amassed a 3.5 second gap over Jurgis, and Jurgis just doesn't seem to have any form of response here today to get back to Jamie Fluke. And for Jurgis, he is a driver who wants to be pushing for top 10s. He is a driver with a big competitive streak, and this will not be helping him, but it will give him a good idea of where he stands for a week's time.
Yeah, Jamie Fluke right now is currently setting lap times a couple of tenths of a second per lap faster than the second place driver of Bacillus Georgis. So Jamie Fluke absolutely walking away with this as he did a couple of races ago, at least at the start before he got himself involved in an incident at Indianapolis that threw a whole wrench in the whole entire works. It's actually Christian Steele around at what is going to be the bus stop, and he just gets the car back around. What has happened here? It's just a single car spin coming across the curb, I think.
Yeah, it is a single car spin coming across the curb. Price, though, to the outside of Orozco, trying to make the move. He gets his nose down the inside of the second part of Lecoum, but at Malmedy, he's not going to be able to make that move. Looks for the cut back towards Ravage, and he gets the nose down to the inside. Very good car control and good placement from Isaac Price. He has the inside for the long 180-degree right-hander, which falls away from you, but great work around the outside from Orozco. What a spirited defense. He not only knows how to attack, he knows how to defend as well. And Connery, that's a brilliant, brilliant defense.
A brilliant defense indeed, but Isaac Price isn't finished, and I don't think Ricardo Orozco is finished either with trying to defend his position, as again Isaac Price has to drop back due to the dirty air coming through Pouhon. He's tried to look to make the time back coming through the Funky chicane, but still not going to happen, as very, very squirrely on the exit was Ricardo Orozco.
Yeah, Orozco now starting to push, and if they're not careful here, and if they don't battle with each other too much, there's a certain Giuseppe Ragusa not setting the world alight on lap times that they can bring in for a battle with the podium. And maybe Isaac Price needs to think a little bit more and think there's more than just fourth place at stake. If we battle, there's a podium opportunity in play for me. Same could be said for Moritz Lohner, just sitting in the catbird seat, just waiting for that opportunity, Connery, to make that move. And that's the thing that you've got to remember. It's not about how you make those moves, it's about when you make those moves.
Yep, I absolutely agree, as it was a fantastic exit there off of the bus stop for Ricardo Orozco. Again, very, very deep on the brakes was Isaac Price, trying to gain any advantage he can think of. Here's another good run off of that source for Ricardo Orozco, just stems the bleeding just for now. And meanwhile, Moritz Luna is just catching these guys lap by lap by lap as these guys have a little bit of a squabble. Here comes the run off the top of Eau Rouge Radion for Isaac Price. DRS is going to be wide open, as actually he gets the pass done well before the braking zone for Lecombe, and it's going to be Isaac Price up into P number 4.
It doesn't matter how good of a defender you are, you can't do anything down into there with such overspeed that Isaac Price had. Orozco is going to have to wait behind now, as it's Isaac Price now up into position number 4, the English driver. So now the train starts to look a little bit larger. Michael Partington now on the rear of this one, looking at Jerome Fakel thinking, I've got an opportunity. Josh Rogers in a battle right now with Matteo Calistani, not close enough down in towards Ravage, but for now, Connery, this recovery from Josh Rogers started P6, Calistani started P8. We know Calistani's tyres normally take an absolute horrible bit of abuse during the run of a race weekend.
Yeah, but he'd be very, very thankful that there is a pit stop, a scheduled pit stop during the course of this race, so he can actually get some fresher rubber on that PSR machine. As Joshua K. Rogers looking for the gap coming into the Fogna chicane. On the last lap, he was around about a half a second faster than Matteo Calistani, so definitely, lap time's definitely favouring Joshua K. Rogers at the moment, but still searching for the gap coming through Stavelot, still searching for the gap coming through Stavelot too as well, and it's going to have to be a move coming down into the bus stop, he must have think, unless he can get this move completed before Blanchimont. He's going to go for the move around driver's left-hand side. He's very tentative about it. He's there, but he just doesn't. He's thinking in two minds about it. He finally backs out the move coming through Blanchimont, but now this is his opportunity coming down into the bus stop, as actually he's not going to find the gap. Middle of the road is going to have to be for Matteo Calistani. Defensive line through the bus stop there. Cut back for Joshua Rogers, getting the run off the corner, and now he's so squirrely on the throttle coming through there, but he's going to have the inside line, or at least a chance at it. Coming down into last source, he brakes very, very late, gets into the apex, and he takes the position.
Lovely bit of driving there from Josh Rogers, but he knows that the DRS will go and hinder him on this next straight. So now it's about how he makes this run up through Eau Rouge Radion. A lot of curb through the left, a twitch up through the middle of Eau Rouge. He holds on to it, but now Calistani looking for an opportunity, but no, he's not going to be able to close down even with DRS in play as well. Both were saving ERS down at straight 310 and 318 kilometers an hour respectively up through the Kemmel Straight. So both of them losing out quite a bit of time, but this main train that we're focusing on here, it's all about how Isaac Price will now look to try and close down Giuseppe Ragusa. 7/10 of a second on that last lap from Isaac Price. 149.8 Connery meets a 150.5.
Yeah, you have to feel that that was definitely Isaac Price getting held up there by Ricardo Orozco due to the lap times he's setting right now in a little bit of clear air. Of course, you'll be feeling the slight bit of an effect from Giuseppe Ragusa's car, but he's way too far away to be any major issue for Isaac Price. And now what can the likes of Moritz Lohner and Jerome Quakel do with Ricardo Orozco right now? Because Orozco was about 1/10 of a second slower than Lohner last time by, and Jerome Quakel's caught both actually. Quakel was actually almost the exact same lap time as Moritz Lohner last time by, to within a thousandth of a second.
A thousandth of a second between them. Well, that's not going to help Jerome Quakel close on that gap. This time, Quakel does a 150 flat. The matching time, though, from Moritz Lohner was also a 150 point flat. 49.9 for Orozco, 49.8 for Isaac Price. And again, another half a second lopped off Giuseppe Ragusa. The gap down to 1.7 seconds on the road. And Ragusa, we know how good of a defender he can be at times. He threw away Indianapolis, a second place finish, and got P4. But we know he's so good, especially against Isaac Price at Imola. That's the one that sticks out in my mind, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. And can he defend from Isaac Price this time? Well, we'll just have to wait a couple of laps to find that one out once Isaac Price gets onto the gearbox of Giuseppe Ragusa. It was another half a second that last time by, as very deep on the brakes behind them, actually. Moritz Lohner pushing a little bit wide coming through the Rivage. He's getting very, very close to Ricardo Orozco right now and could look to make the move in the coming laps. He is looking for that move, so Moritz Lohner now. He's getting a little bit twitchy there behind, and this is the thing with the draft. It is affecting the way that you drive this vehicle, and to spend 5, 6, 7 laps stuck behind a driver, it does frustrate you at times, and it takes some mental resilience for drivers to be stuck behind. But Moritz Lohner, with his endurance background, he will have this idea of knowing how to stay behind drivers, but maybe not as much in an open wheel setting. Yeah, he has that experience of just being patient. Of course, this is a full distance race in Grand Prix terms. It's a very short race in terms of endurance, which Moritz Lohner is more comfortable with. But he's been in this situation before, so I have I feel confident that he can negotiate the situation very, very well indeed, especially when it comes towards the pit stops. He knows exactly where to place his car, when to come in to get into clear air. That's all traits that endurance drivers need to know to do well in that particular discipline, and some of those skills can transfer over to this. 1.2 seconds now, the gap between Price and Ragusa for the Thrustmaster Movano team will need to be a little bit careful now about what that core sim racing driver of Isaac Price can achieve by closing down that half a second a lap. In a couple of laps time, Ragusa may have to be playing the ultra defensive line up this Kemmel straight and in towards Lake Coombe. It's so difficult to defend up this hill, especially with DRS, and some people think that DRS is a big hindrance. In my opinion, it does create overtaking opportunities, and ones that can be very, very easily attainable. Yeah, well, trying this, the DRS doesn't just mean a guaranteed pass. It guarantees you the chance at the pass. It doesn't guarantee the pass, because most of the passes we've seen coming down the Kemmel Straight so far in this race haven't really been assisted that much by the DRS. It's the run coming out of Eau Rouge and Radillon that gives you the big advantage. It certainly does. Isaac Price has actually pulled away from Ricardo Orozco, and Orozco is now outside of the 1 second window, so he will now become under pressure as we get a 2-tier gap now happening between P4 and P5 out on circuit. Price looking to get past Ragusa has now tucked right up onto the rear of the Italian driver, and the Englishman of Price will look to try and make his way through and get himself up +1 for his day. Ragusa would stay +1 if he loses this position, but currently he's scored as +2 overall. Everyone in the top of this field will get a +1 because, well, number 1 of Frederick Rasmussen started on pole, had a massive moment, and his day was ended in quite dramatic fashion, shall we say. Into the bus stop chicane then, no real opportunities presenting, but again, Ricardo Orozco, not the best of runs, and a twitch out to the exit there, trying to get the power down. So difficult to get the power down out of there. Moritz Lohner now having a look into turn number 1. That's not going to work. Isaac Price setting up the run now in towards Eau Rouge and Radillon, and that for the moment is going to be one we need to keep an eye on, Connery. Yeah, 2 battles in pretty much one shot as Giuseppe Ragusa and Isaac Price head their way up the hill coming through Eau Rouge and Radillon. And not the greatest of runs for Isaac Price. He will have the DRS, not close enough to make the move though. But looking back, this is Moritz Lohner. He has a fantastic overspeed coming down the Kemmel Straight. He will get the position done just before the braking zone. Pulls in front of Ricardo Orozco just before the braking zone started. That could have ended very, very horribly if Ricardo Orozco wasn't aware.
Yes, and Ricardo Orozco was aware, and that's the crucial factor. So he holds on to that position, or loses that position, and only that position alone. Runs wide, don't do a bit past to the corner. The door was half ajar for Krekel, and Krekel thought that he could stick his nose up the inside, but in the end, had to think against it there in that situation. So Krekel in the 11 machine, thinking about getting past the 7 over Orozco, and thinking there are more points available for me here if I can make this move and make it very, very easily. But still, though, at the front of the field, it's the Jamie Fluke show. He's got a 5.4 second advantage, and that's increasing to around 5.7, 5.8 seconds at this moment in time. Ragusa, though, he's the big man to look at here. P3 battle. Isaac Price still looking to try and hold on to things.
Yeah, he is, and it was an advantage of around about 0.7 of a second to Isaac Price that last time by across the timing lines, and it seems relatively inevitable that Isaac Price will get past here. But can Giuseppe Ragusa do something about the pace of the core sim racing driver ahead of them as they follow each other very, very tightly coming through the bus stop? Fantastic run off the corner for Giuseppe Ragusa, just mitigates any opportunity at a move coming down into the last source. But this is where Isaac Price gets his runs, usually coming off of last source. A little bit wide for Giuseppe Ragusa, but again manages to salvage it by getting the power down early.
Yes, he does. So the power down early for the driver of Isaac Price, looking to get that run then through the right, now the left, and again heavy over that curb is not going to be very beneficial for him as he makes this run down the straight. He's close, but I wonder how close is close enough. Krekel also trying to close on Orozco, but Orozco defensive line taken, but and Eric Andre turned around with Manu Domingo down at the last source hairpin, and we'll get a look at that one as well. And it was Domingo little late on the brakes. There wasn't too much there, but at Eric Andre, it was a case of, had he hit his marks a little bit too early, Connery?
Yeah, well, you could say that, but really it's the responsibility of the driver behind not to run into the back of the other the car ahead of them coming down into the braking zone, which is exactly what has happened there. Not really Manu Domingo's proudest moment right there as we go back live and to this battle for P number 3. It is going to be between Isaac Price and Giuseppe Ragusa. Isaac Price looking for the gap around the outside of the first part of the Lafania chicane, but still not going to be able to do anything about Ragusa ahead of him as they head through the two stablos. And also because again Isaac Price again held up by another driver, this brings Barcelona back into the fight with Isaac Price and Ragusa.
Yes, and that's going to be crucial for the driver of Barcelona. He's just picking off the bones like a vulture here of all the incidents that happen ahead, all the overtakes that happen ahead. Price close again, but once more he's not going to be able to make that move on the brakes into the bus stop chicane to start lap 17. In fact, he'll dive in early here to get himself out of the traffic and set himself some hot laps. So Isaac Price, the first of your main men to make that big stop. Warmington and Steele have also come down onto pit road so far. So Isaac Price, one of your big names to come down in the early stages, Connery.
Yeah, I'd say that is a very, very good decision there from Isaac Price. He didn't feel confident that he was able to get past Giuseppe Ragusa anytime soon, but instead just gets himself down on towards the lane, get some fresh tires, and hopefully come out in some clear air as he heads his way past the green cones right now. Matteo Calistani has already made his way by, and he's just going to be behind Calistani here, but ahead of Calistani there's going to be no one else really. So a good pit stop there for Isaac Price puts him in some clear air.
4.3 seconds then the stop for Isaac Price. That's about on par for what you'd see off of a pit stop. Matteo Calistani in front won't be very helpful for him. It just depends on when he manages to catch the positive sim racing driver, and that driver does have the ability to hold up Isaac Price there because of Ricardo Orozco being in that middle of the pack, being in that battle, and Orozco will want that jump as well through the stages. But for Ragusa, it means that he gets a little bit of fresh air, means that Moritz Lohner now will look to come down in. But do you now, as Giuseppe Ragusa, Connery, cover off the move of Isaac Price, come down onto pit road this lap, get those fresh tyres and minimize all the damage that Price will do on fresh tyres?
Yeah, but the thing is, Giuseppe Ragusa was running about anything from half a second to 0.8 of a second slower than the other driver of Isaac Price in clear air. So I don't think there's much that Giuseppe Ragusa can do at this moment in time, because even if he does cover the pit stop here, it's likely that Isaac Price will come out ahead anyway as they head their way down into the bus stop. Actually, Giuseppe Ragusa is going to come in and try and cover off the move. Let's see how well he does with that, as Moritz Lohner and Ricardo Orozco all still stay out, or so does Joan Quiggle, as actually Orozco's going to go down the inside alone here.
Yeah, and Riccardo Orozco looking for that move and gets that move there on Moritz Lohner. No, he doesn't. So it means that Lohner now holds on. It was Krakel looking around the outside, potentially for an opportunity. So now the driver of Giuseppe Ragusa down onto pit road and looking for that good stop then before getting himself back out and away. But we'll focus, though, on this one because here comes Orozco on Lohner. Lohner goes defensive, even more aggressive, though, goes that driver of Riccardo Orozco. Krakel down to the inside as well, and he'll take that position. And thank you very much, says Jerome Krakel. He'll pick one off of Moritz Lohner. 4.4 seconds for Giuseppe Ragusa, and Ragusa comes out crucially ahead, yes, of Isaac Price, but the DRS in activation now for Isaac Price. He will now get that toe. Defensive line needs to be taken. He is, and a big wiggle to the outside for Isaac Price, down to the outside, and he gets himself the inside for the next line of the corner, and Ragusa is not giving this one up. Now has to at Malmedy. Great work from Price.
The reason why that all happens and Giuseppe Ragusa managed to come out ahead of Isaac Price is because Isaac Price was not able to get around Matteo Calastani. He's pretty much stuck behind him for the entirety of his outlap and only got past him coming out of the bus stop. Meanwhile, Giuseppe Ragusa was already in his pit stall and getting his tyres changed, and that meant that Ragusa was able to come out ahead, but there's nothing Ragusa could have done about the DRS run that Isaac Price had.
Driver in first position stays out. Pashalis Jurgis in second stays out. Eyes on Orozco, Krakel and Lohner. And Krakel struggling in the middle sector. He's dropping back a bit now from the driver of Riccardo Orozco in the battle for now net P3 out on circuit. Orozco now decides to cover and Lohner follows him in. Krakel stays out a little bit longer, so does Partington. So now on the line, 60 kilometers an hour down this section. Battle of crews here between Lohner and the driver Orozco. And Orozco needs a good pit stop here because he knows his teammate's done a bit of work for him.
Yep, and well, 37 miles an hour down the pit lane is very slow compared to the 200 that these cars can do at their absolute limit, as both drivers get stopped in their boxes, get their tires changed, and they're going to be off and away. And let's see what the likes of Jerome Krakel and also Michael Partington do in this situation as well. Maybe they're coming down on towards the lane the next lap. We'll just have to wait and see.
Both drivers are behind the drivers of Ragusa and Price, so Price has been released into net P3 overall. So Krakel and Partington now need to make their stops against Orozco and the driver of Moritz Lohner. And for Krakel, who got that position very nicely off the driver of Moritz Lohner, he now knows that he's got to put in some fantastic lap times that he has done all day long so far. 1:49.4, his fastest of the day, but he's been very consistent in those 150s. He hasn't deviated out of a 150 lap time since lap number 8 of the event, and it's that level of consistency that sometimes does get you forward here in this event, Connery.
Yeah, he may not be the fastest driver out there on track right now. That one definitely goes to your current race leader in Jamie Fluke, but it's another thing entirely, another fantastic thing entirely, that you can put in some very consistent lap times indeed as he heads his way through Blanchimont now. Let's see if he comes in down on towards the lane to get the fresh tyres. As meanwhile, back through the field, Stefan Larkamp and Man Domingo having a little bit of fight. That's going to be Man Domingo up that one position right there. And does Jerome Krakel get in? He struggles to get in towards pit lane, but he manages to do so, and he'll get himself slowed down past the yellow cones down onto pit road speed limit of 37 miles an hour. And now where are the likes of Moritz Lohner going to file in after this pit stop is finished?
Yeah, the oversteer factor for Jerome Krakel, very similar to how Bono House had the same issues in the Road to Pro Series, but now Moritz Lohner making the run down towards the final chicanes. Orozco versus Ragusa now, that battle continuing on, and it has been a good lap from Riccardo Orozco. Look to go through Josh Rogers. In, out comes Krakel, and behind is the crucial factor. Behind it will be, but he will come out equal with the driver of Moritz Lohner. He won't have the ability to get the power down out of pit road, though, because it enters after the last source hairpin, and Krakel now behind Moritz Lohner and has more work to do, Connery. But look at Riccardo Orozco. He's got to make this move now on Giuseppe Ragusa to get himself back through up that position and into position number 4 overall on circuit. Thank you very much. Riccardo Orozco makes that one look like a piece of cake.
it was a piece of cake for the Brazilian driver of Ricardo Orozco, and Ragusa not really having anything to reply with coming down into Rivaz. He's going to try and hang with Ricardo Orozco because he really wants that DRS to try and tow him away from the likes of Jerome Kvigel and Mark Lona, who just had their pit stops, of course, so they'll be going very, very quickly indeed. And while they were going very quickly early on in the race as well, and they may be able to challenge Ragusa coming on later in the race, as we're actually just approaching the halfway stage here. Feels like we've had a whole race already, as actually Pascal Jurgens, yep, he's in.
Yeah, Pascal Jurgens from position number 2 bites the bullet on lap 20 of 44, hits the pit limiter, needs to come down in. A good stop needed here to apply the pressure to Jamie Fluke. The gap has opened to 7 seconds, so Fluke has a bit of a margin here to work with when he does decide to come down onto pit road. For Michael Partington, he's staying out though, following Jamie Fluke's strategy, and for Partington, he will be losing out time on all his rivals like Ragusa, like Kvigel, like Price, as Price has actually set the fastest lap of the race that last time by, in and out very easily there from Pascal Jurgens, and he will maintain 2nd position on the road.
Yep, out into clear air and maintaining that crucial 2nd position, as you said as well. And it's going to be also Isaac Price getting in the 4th place there. Price, fastest lap again with a 1:48.632. And well, let's see if that holds even when Jamie Fluke gets up to speed. Actually gets down onto the lane first and then gets up to speed, because Fluke is on all tires right now. Meanwhile, battle for P number 5, Giuseppe Ragusa has the DRS over Ricardo Orozco, but again, he just doesn't have the straight line speed even with the DRS. He was at a deficit coming down the straight even though the flap was open. Yes, he was. And Eric Andre, though, under pressure. Evan Lathora, so gap SRT to the outside and makes the move very comfortably. And Eric Andre, sometimes he's of Driller Motorsports. Here, though, he is in real championship racing colours. And an Eric Andre then will make his way backwards through the field as Evan Lathoris charges back through up into position number 9. That puts him +5 for the day right now, does the driver of Evan Lathoris. And he pitted, I believe, around about lap 4 of this event, so it's a long way on tyres for Lathoris to get himself back through, I do believe, Connery. Very long way indeed, but and those tyres will be struggling. Actually, yeah, let's just have a little bit of a look here. Actually, well, he's on 20.6 lap old tyres right now, so he has actually not come down onto the lane, so he still has to do his scheduled pit stop right there. As meanwhile, Jamie Fluke is in. Jamie Fluke then decides to bite the bullet. Michael Partington will follow on lap 22 of the event, and it was a slightly missed stall there from Jamie Fluke, not what we normally see from him. And just looking at the way that he did miss his stall, he looked to try and get himself down in onto the brakes. He hits his stall, and he actually has to go forward. It's normally you have to go backwards, which is the big issue. For Fluke, he had to go a little bit forward. He missed his marks ever so slightly. That will cost him in the long run. 1:48.7 from Isaac Price that last time by, within a tenth of his fastest lap. Jurgens is out lap of 2:07, so Jamie Fluke re-holds the lead, but that would have cost him maybe half a second at most, Connery. Yeah, there's a couple of other drivers down on the lane as well. Evan Lathoris and Eric Andre deciding to come down and take their scheduled stops, and that means everyone in this race has head down pit road at least once over the course of this race right now. And Jamie Fluke, and actually, the reason why Jamie Fluke messed up that pit stop basically is because he was trying to angle the car to get a better exit off of pit road, because the first pit stall is very, very tricky here, because you basically have to start turning straight away as you get the power down coming off of your pit stall right there. Jamie Fluke tried to mitigate that by angling his car the right way, but then forgot to actually hit the pit stop. Yes, he did. So that is going to put him a little bit further behind in this race as well. Having a look actually at Jerome Kvigel, he was under pressure into Les Combes by Moritz Lohner in the Hoitzenvelcourt Motorsports machine. So Lohner was looking to try and get around the outside. It didn't work for Kvigel, so it meant that it wasn't easily the best opportunity. But we're going to take you Raceblock TV fan immersion for the first and hopefully the only time in its event. Moritz Lohner looking to chase down Jerome Kvigel.
close from Moritz Lothmer, but he needs another lap to make sure that he gets himself on the back of Jerome Kvekel. Just in front of that, Giuseppe Ragusa trying to do everything to stay with Ricardo Orozco as well. So all these drivers running 149.1, 149.2s further down the field. Marco Warmington has just lost the position to Eneric Andre, so that's something just to keep an eye out on in these later stages of this event. We're into the second half here on Racebot TV and iRacing Live. I am #GMI Jake Sparey, joined alongside by Mr. Connery Maddick. It's the iRacing Grand Prix Series here, the prelude here, the 1 week warning to the iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series, which will be kicking off, and I've butchered the name, I know, in just 6 days' time at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, along with Racebot Race Day as well. So make sure that you check yourself that one out. Live timing and scoring still available at Racebot TV/timing. But Connery, I want to keep an eye on Isaac Price. He's matching times at the moment with Paschalis Jurgis, but Jurgis has had to respond in this last lap because he was at one stage 4/10 of a second a lap slower.
Yeah, and of course that you also have to factor in that Paschalis Jurgis is on a tyres that are a couple of laps younger than Isaac Price right now, because Isaac Price had to do that early stop to get himself ahead of the likes of Ragusa and others as well. So Isaac Price sacrificing a little bit of a strategy call there, sacrificing, shall we say, his late race pace to get past the traffic that he was dealing with. Meanwhile, Jamie Fluke sets the fastest lap of the motor race, which is going to be a 1:48.514 for Jamie Fluke. He's absolutely flying right now, and this looks very good for him going into the World Championship Grand Prix Series, which I know is a tongue twister, Jake.
Yes, it certainly is, and well, he's managed to get himself an extra 10th though on Paschalis Jurgis only with that fastest lap. That's the even more crucial factor, but still Giuseppe Ragusa looks for a good opportunity. Was a little bit lingering there on the outside curve of Eau Rouge Radion Complex, and now Ragusa looking to close that gap down, but again, he's just sitting there, saving his ERS for that one big push. And you can do that, Connery, where you can just decide, you know what, I'm just going to sit, I'm going to save my ERS, not much needs to happen, but then use it all in a burst later on in the lap to try and get yourself into play. And Orozco's feeling the pressure there because he had a little wiggle coming out of Malmedy.
Yeah, and last time by Ragusa actually was marginally faster than Ricardo Orozco, so don't count Ragusa out of this right now. He may have looked a little bit lacking in pace early on in this race, but he could start to see a resurgence here to try and challenge Ricardo Orozco for number 4. The drivers ahead of them, P1, P2 and P3, are off on another planet in terms of pace, so this is going to be a good result for both Ricardo Orozco and Ragusa, no matter which order they finish in. But I think Ragusa will definitely be really wanting that P4. He'd be happy with the P5, but P4 is what he's looking at.
Certainly is. Christian Steele closes up to the back then of the driver of Mark A. Warmington for position number 14 out on circuit. Steele's had his issues today. Warmington maybe just hasn't had the pace and is starting to struggle here in the second half of this race. And Connery, for Mark A. Warmington and Blue Flag Racing, this is the sort of level that they're eyeing to be at here. They're looking to try and match and make. And right now, as Jamie Fluke goes purple yet again out on circuit 148.3, the struggle is seemingly real.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. This is not a field that Blue Flag Racing are used to be racing in. This is what they want to be racing in, as you mentioned, but it doesn't seem that they're quite there yet. Let's see what happens in the Road to Pro Series in the autumn that will be happening. See if they get any drivers qualified for that World Championship Grand Prix Series. It'll be a fantastic achievement for them, but right now in this race, the pace doesn't seem to be there.
No, it doesn't, and the battle for P4 still continuing. Giuseppe Ragusa looking to close down that gap, and again is saving and is waiting for a clearer opportunity right now, and I'm not sure how much clearer he can get. He was 0.6 of a second behind. Even if he pokes the nose down the inside, that's still enough to maneuver Orozco out of the way and make sure that he's worried, and he misses the apex massively at the corner with no name. The amount of downforce though that was on that vehicle, he was able to bring that vehicle back, whereas in another vehicle like a Porsche 911, you'd find yourself in a barrier.
Yep, and I think also Giuseppe Ragusa is running a very high downforce setup as well, because multiple times coming down the DRS straight, the Kemmel straight, he was at a disadvantage even with the DRS open. So this is one of those tracks though where you can set up for different parts of the circuit though, and you set up for the high downforce corners like the likes of Pouhon coming through the Lafani chicanes and the Savalo, but you can also go with a low downforce out and maximize your speed down the Camel Straight, and also this run down towards Blanchimont and the run down towards the bus stop as well.
Oh, Jamie Fluke, 1:48.2. Thank you very much. Fastest lap. If there was ever any doubt, he's gone and done it yet again. Another 10th of a second lopped off. Jurgis responded with a 48.4. That's his quickest lap of the race, but he's not going to be able to close that gap back down. But now the train looks a bit more train of three. Where is Moritz Lohner is the question. He is on that rear of Jerome Kwekel, and now starting to fall off the train a bit. 1.2 seconds now, the gap for Lohner to try and close down. And that's no DRS, and Kwekel now is thinking, well, if these two in front of me aren't going to make moves, and I'm closing up on Giuseppe Ragusa at half a second a lap, I have an opportunity here at position number 5, Connery.
Yep, and the lap times he's running right now are even faster than Ricardo Orozco, 0.2 of a second faster than Ricardo Orozco ahead of Giuseppe Ragusa. But to make a P4 happen for Jerome Kwekel with around about 17.5 laps to go for him, he's going to have to get past Giuseppe Ragusa very, very quickly. And as we've seen earlier on in this race, even Isaac Bryce couldn't make it happen that quickly.
No, he couldn't. So it means that Giuseppe Ragusa is going to be a tough cookie to try and get past. And Jerome Kwekel will feel that he has that opportunity to get past Ragusa if he can just pull within that 1 second window, and pull within that 1 second window very, very effectively as well. Get within half a second, 0.4 of a second across the start-finish line to give himself that good run towards the end of the race. We are heading towards those last 14 laps here to make sure, or the last 15, 16 laps even, shall I say, before we get ourselves towards the end of this event. So there is still time, a lot of time to make something happen here. So now it's going to be all about how do you manage that, and how do you work your way through a driver who is equal to you in terms of pace from time to time. Again, over those curves heavy, the pair of them are going to go. And again, it's going to be a long and lingering corner for Jerome Kwekel. He loses about a 10th there, just not being able to get down onto the power.
Yeah, man, I think Giuseppe Ragusa has been the one most consistent on the power as he gets a fantastic run going at last source again. It's just the straight line top end speed that Giuseppe Ragusa is really suffering with at this moment in time, as they all head their way through the Eau Rouge complex right there. And Kwekel will have DRS, I think. Yep, that flap is going to be wide open, but also Giuseppe Ragusa also has DRS over Ricardo Orozco, even though he's risked losing it at times.
Yeah, he certainly has. He was within 0.9 of a second of Ricardo Orozco that last time by, and he actually improved his time a 1:49 flat. It was a 1:49 flat as well for Jerome Kwekel, so they're all stuck, I think is the best word for it at the moment. They are all stuck in the DRS-ERS train. It just needs someone to break 0.7 of a second or 0.6 of a second and make something happen in this middle train. We would look at other battles, but other battles are becoming a little bit harder to find. The only other one that we got right now is Christian Steele actually decides to drop down onto pit road here. So I do believe that he's going to come down in, make this stop, try and get out again. Connery, is that his second stop of the day?
That will be his second stop of the day for Christian Steele. His laps were only around about 13 laps old when he came in for, well, this second stop. So I'm not sure if that is scheduled at all. Surely not, as most of your drivers are on this one-stop strategy. Maybe it was a little bit of an issue there for Christian Steele that meant he had to come in and get it sorted. But he's out there on track now, just heading down towards Eau Rouge.
Yeah, well, he has lost the position to Stephen Larkamp, so he's got every reason to go and get past Larkamp, seeing as he only will lose one position in the end if he is in that issue. He does now face the difficulty of maybe being lapped by a charging Jamie Fluke at the front of the field. 7.4 seconds, though, now is the gap. But again, the train, a little wiggle from Ragusa now, opens up the door slightly for Jerome Kwekel out of last source. Run up to Eau Rouge, Raidillon straight afterwards, left, right of Eau Rouge, left to Raidillon, and again, Giuseppe Ragusa just has a stunning amount of speed heading through, and it's just as if Jerome Kwekel just has no sort of mid to high speed downforce in that vehicle. He is very tentative.
very, very tentative and indeed, and well, Ragusa really benefiting with the high downforce setup in the dirty air, able to follow Ricardo Orozco relatively closely, not losing the DRS advantage that he has. And in fact, he really desperately needs that DRS advantage to be in any way competitive coming down the straight with how much wing he probably has on that car. All the evidence suggests that he's running a very, very high downforce setup to be able to follow so closely and get such a fantastic run coming through Eau Rouge.
Yes, and that is what is hurting Jerome Crakel, who has gone the other way and has gone for a high top speed setup, which is sacrificing that bit of downforce. This is why he's struggling in these opening sections of the lap, and especially this middle sector as well, which is such a difficulty. Loads of mid-speed corners that you have to try and negotiate. Poo on the double left is always difficult. Outer curve of Paul Frere, then they're going to come along as now they make that run up to Blanchimont with the headwind that they've got in front of them right now at 12 kilometers an hour, looking to make that push. It makes life very difficult to make a move, especially when you're flat out. We're not going to see any around the outside Max Verstappen-esque moves then down into that corner, but once again they're going to be line astern rounding it, and with just 15 laps to go and under in this event, it seems that there is just not much that these drivers can do at the moment, Connery.
No, not much at all, and Quiggles, all these drivers doing their absolute best right now, but it's just at an absolute stalemate. There's nothing really they can do, and again, it's going to be not a great run for Quiggle coming out of La Source, and a characteristic very good run for Giuseppe Ragusa coming out of La Source. But Quiggle, he's close now, like closer than he has been over the past couple of laps. He will get the DRS. Ragusa will also get the DRS, but look at the advantage that Quiggle has to back out the move, harvest in the ERS, and I think that's a good decision because he wasn't close enough to make the move. Might as well just lift out the throttle and let the energy charging start.
And the issue now is that Ricardo Orozco is looking to break away, so Crakel now applying the pressure. A little bit of a wider entry in from the driver, Giuseppe Ragusa, tries to sort of diamond off the corner a little bit there into that right-hander of Rivage, and through the corner without any form of name. He manages to get a very good run out of there. Poo on the double left-hander then. So difficult. You look for your apex through one, then you look for an easier apex out of the second part, and well, Ragusa holding his nerve very well, but Crakel easily able to get himself through, and Crakel's taking those shallower lines to try and get himself through, which puts him quicker in the opening part of the corners, Connery, but for those second parts of the corners he's struggling, but he's still there and he's within 0.2 of a second. He may have half a chance here.
Closer than he ever has been. I think Ragusa is very dangerously close to losing the DRS here of Ricardo Orozco, and he has to defend this position now from Quiggle without any DRS, we suspect. As Quiggle, is he going to have a look for a move coming down into the bus stop? He goes very, very deep on the brakes, closes in onto the gearbox of Giuseppe Ragusa, but does not decide to make the move. Ragusa is going to get a good run out of here, like we expected from him, but again, I think this is going to be inevitable now coming down the Camel Straight with the straight line speed disadvantage that Ragusa has. He needs a monster of a run coming through Eau Rouge just to defend this.
Yes, and that's been the case there. Crakel was waiting for an easier opportunity, a more decisive move that he can make now up through left, right, left, and he's able to follow him like a hawk, like nobody else can do. To the outside, DRS will now come into play, and the ERS already being harvested by the driver, Giuseppe Ragusa. Thank you very much. Jerome Crakel now up inside the top 5, but look how much it's cost him here. It's cost him at least 2 seconds on the driver of Ricardo Orozco right now. That's a big, big chase down that Crakel will have to do on a driver who did a 1:49 flat the last time by, Connery.
Yeah, and 0.4 of a second was the disadvantage on that last lap alone as Crakel tried to hunt down Ragusa, but now he's in a little bit of clear air, can catch up to probably within DRS distance of Ricardo Orozco, but we've seen Orozco's fantastic defensive moves already over the course of this race, and it's not going to be easy at all for Crakel to get himself past.
No, it certainly isn't. So Jerome Crakel now has a different target, position number 4, and the championship leader as well to make his way through. Just keeping an eye on Jamie Fluke because he's found a certain Mr. Christian Steele that he's decided that he wants to lap at this stage in time, and well, he's close. He's within that 1 second, so you'd feel that Jamie Fluke will easily make his way through. He will have DRS down the straight if he hits the marker board in time. Blue flags will be waving for the driver of Christian Steele, who will have to try and get out of the way at some stage, but it's not mandatory to get out of the way in this series though, Connery. Not like the World Championship where you have to jump out of the way. It's up to Jamie Fluke to make his way around the driver of Christian Steele.
Yeah, it's the iRacing sporting code wording of the rule, not the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series interpretation of the rule, as Christian Steele is going to get out of the way. But most of the time, if you are safe with the blue flag, you usually just give up the position anyway. There's not really any point in fighting unless you're in a fight yourself. Then that is what you could consider, just trying to not easily let the leader through. But since Christian Steele is so far back right now, then it's not really going to be hurting his race to let Jamie Fluke by very easily, as most of your battles have kind of fizzled out right now in terms of close battles. But Jerome Quakel, half a second faster than Ricardo Orozco that last time by.
Half a second. That means he brings the gap down to 1.3 over the line. So as an hour in the session ticks over, it's now time for Quakel to hit the afterburners. He's got himself about 12 laps to make this one happen, and if anyone can, Jerome Quakel can. Dutch sim racing has never been so strong, with drivers like Freek Schothorst, Bono House, Mac Backham, that are all up there, always up inside the top 5, top 10, there or thereabouts every single time. And it's drivers like Quakel that add to that mixture and make life very difficult for other clubs to make their presence known, apart from maybe Club Finland, Connery.
Yeah, Club Finland very dominant, especially in terms of the iRacing World Cup events. Of course, the UK and I are the closest challengers for that one, and I actually had a race in the oval race for that championship, but we still couldn't beat them, at least on the road. Of course, it's going to be Jamie Fluke fastest lap again. The Apex Racing UK driver just running away with this one. He's just basically hot lapping at this point.
Yeah, he's got no other alternative, really. He can just sit and try and play the Sebastian Vettel role and just look to break a way forward. Another 4/10, though, for the driver of Jerome Quakel, who now gets within a 1 second window. Eyes, though, now turn to the DRS flap to see whether it is going to be open or not as he heads up through Eau Rouge. Now into Radion, and now a small kick right to get onto the Kemmel Straight. Flat wide open. He's got DRS in play, and now he's looking to keep himself in play right now as Giuseppe Ragusa under pressure. Here comes Moritz Lochner out of nowhere to make that move. Ragusa, his tyres have to be gone right now at this stage because he's just had nothing over this second half of the event.
Yeah, over that last lap, Lochner was actually 0.6 of a second faster, and yeah, those tyres are definitely gone on Giuseppe Ragusa's car. He's on one of the oldest tyres out here on circuit. The only older tyres that are out there on circuit right now are Isaac Price's and Manu Dominguez, but still, a couple of laps isn't going to make that much of a difference, at least not 0.6 of a second worth.
No, not 0.6 of a second. So Ragusa struggling then on the older tyre setup, maybe more of a hot lap setup, but he's got to be careful. He lost 1.2 seconds on that last lap to Michael Partington behind the Evolution Racing team. So Michael Partington thinking that position 7 is certainly possible here in this event, and there is a good opportunity for that to become a reality in this situation. Another eye then turns to Jamie Fluke. His lap time not as good. Ricardo Orozco, though, is under pressure from Jerome Quakel, and Quakel's not had the best of laps here. He gets stuck in about that 9/10 of a second, 8/10 of a second gap, and it takes him quite a while for him to then get himself up onto the front. He is struggling heavily with that dirty air effect, Connery.
Yeah, but he has, as he comes across the line, around about 11 laps to pull off this move for P number 4. As actually, yeah, he was going multiple tenths of a second faster in clear air than Ricardo Orozco, but because he was in the dirty air this time, only half a tenth faster.
Only half a tenth. The gap, though, between Ragusa and Partington, that one closes now down to about 3.7 seconds out on circuit. 4.3 more likely, I don't know, 3.3 even. I'll get, and Ragusa may come back here at Moritz Lochner. Lochner maybe taking a few liberties there down the Kemmel Straight, and no, won't be able to close that one back down. So Giuseppe Ragusa gets that position secured in 6th position, well, 7th position right now for the time being, as 6th position is still held by Moritz Lochner. And that's the thing, Lochner knew that the driver Ragusa was going to save ERS down that straight.
Yeah, and of course, him having no straight line speed at all, really, because he had a fantastic run coming out of Eau Rouge, but it just wasn't able to carry the momentum all the way down the straight, even with the help of DRS, and just backed out of it. And of course, his tires are going away as well, which doesn't exactly help the situation. But yeah, the main battle that we're going to be focusing on, perhaps to the end of this race, is going to be the one between Ricardo Orozco and Jerome Quakel, as Quakel still tries to hunt down the PSR driver ahead of him, but still, as you mentioned, in that dip, yeah, he just can't get close enough to the back to make a move.
I wonder how badly Isaac Price's tyres are going off right now. 150.0 was his last lap time. We'll want to check to see whether his lap times have improved over this last lap or not, to see whether he is starting to drop back. The answer is going to be a 149.6, so he does do a little bit better for a Roscoe on that last lap, though. He does himself another 149.3 even, so that gap remains at around 4.8 seconds. So P3's not out of the woodworks right now, but it's got to be around about a second or half a second a lap right now to close down to Isaac Price. It's a tough challenge, but if you've got enough tyres, you can do it. And Quakel has proven that he does have that pace to really close down a gap like that.
Yeah, Isaac Price is struggling with the tyres because he had to come in for that early stop to get the jump over Giuseppe Ragusa, and now he's paying the price for it as the lap times start to drop away from him. And I think he's still relatively comfortable in well, on that final step of the podium. But, well, Ricardo Roscoe could just spoil that, and also Jerome Quakel can also just spoil that, as Quakel having a little bit of trouble getting into the apex with Ravage there, just sliding the car across the circuit. That's not going to do any good for the tyres.
No, it's not, and it was a very off-camber corner and runs wide, actually, coming out of that corner without a name. He's got to be careful about that, even though the instant limit boundaries have been relaxed a bit over recent months. It is a case that there's still only 17 to play with, and you are always driving to the tightest of your abilities of safety around this circuit. And Connery, DQs in the past, they would be very, very frivolous here.
Yep, they would. The off-tracks were very, very strict here, and many drivers fell victim to the instant limit here, and I don't think we've had any so far this race, so that's a good improvement right there. Actually, we lost Christian Steele there. He's actually shown as one lap down here. What has happened to Christian Steele? I think he's just had a little bit of technical issues there, and yes, in fact, he has. So Christian Steele is going to be out of this race. I wonder if he's going to get in the car and back out on circuit, but right now, he is currently scored as one lap down, and it wasn't really a great race either. Meanwhile, Giuseppe Ragusa and Moritz Lohner, they've swapped positions in the bus stop, and actually, yeah, it's Ragusa managed to get himself alongside coming through the bus stop, and he's ahead now.
Yeah, he is ahead. I wonder if Steele actually got disqualified for 17 instants. That's more the reasoning that I'm thinking of the situation, as in fact now Moritz Lohner will come back here. Had a look to the inside, can't do it, sets it up on the outside, through the right and now the left, and he's tucked right in underneath, looking for an opportunity. Down the Kemmel straight, then down up the Kemmel straight, then he'll go. Lohner tucked right in underneath. No opportunity though to make that move on Giuseppe Ragusa, and Giuseppe Ragusa now back in position, but it's allowing Partington back into the battle. 1.7 seconds now between these two as they look to keep on going. And the more that these two battle, they could lose another position in this, as now to the outside tries Moritz Lohner, nowhere to go, and it seems that he's now getting a little bit antsy behind the wheel.
Yep, he knows he's faster than Giuseppe Ragusa, but Ragusa managed to get one back and get himself ahead coming through the bus stop. But it's actually very, very slow. Was Giuseppe Ragusa on the run down to Pouhon there. That was very, very strange indeed, but Moritz Lohner still behind for now. And also, as you mentioned, this is going to be bringing Michael Partington back into the fight, because on the last lap, he was around about 1.2 seconds faster than Moritz Lohner. So it was a horrible last lap, Moritz Lohner, probably, that resulted in Giuseppe Ragusa managing to get himself ahead in the bus stop.
Yeah, just managing to get through then in the bus stop right now. So Giuseppe Ragusa, pressure is telling Moritz Lohner now, looking to close that gap down 0.2 of a second, looking towards a 1/10 of a second now into Blanchimont, left-hander, all of the power and a little bit more, and we've seen one move already done right now as they look to head down onto the brakes. No is the answer, not going to be able to make that move happen in through the left, right of the bus stop, and again, now Michael Partington, solid onto the back right now of these two drivers. They look to scrap this one out overall, as Lohner now in towards Lassource, turn number one, looking for the opportunity to go through, and right now you feel, Connery, Lohner's got the run.
Yeah, he probably does have the run. Meanwhile, Ricardo Roscoe versus Quakel still going on. Quakel's not going to be able to make the move coming down to the Lecombe, but look at Moritz Lohner. He's going to get the run coming off of the top of Eau Rouge and Radulon, and he's going to get the DRS. He will be able to make this pass defensive inside line for Giuseppe Ragusa, as actually I spoke too soon. He's probably not going to be able to make the pass. He wasn't able to get alongside enough coming down into the Lecombe chicane, and Ragusa holds his position.
He does. So Giuseppe Ragusa holding on to things very well. Kvekel all over the rear of Orozco as well. So two different battles going on for around P4, P5, P6, P7, P8 as Partington now makes it a party as he looks to go through and make this one a very, very good battle between these three drivers right now. Lochner all over the back of Ragusa, unable to make anything happen. So we'll focus to Kvekel at the moment, who's looking to set up this run through the mid-section to get a good run into the bus stop, Connery, and to make it in towards turn number one. For Kvekel, he knows that he's got an opportunity now to really get fourth position, and they know it's only 4 seconds now to the driver of Isaac Price, because Price's tyres are meaning that they're catching 2/10, 4/10 every single lap.
Yeah, but 2/10 and 4/10 isn't going to be enough right now. We worked out earlier, it's going to have to be around about half a second a lap they're going to have to be catching to be able to make any opportunity for P number 3 at the end of this race. Not close enough for Kvekel coming down into the bus stop. Is Moritz Lohner going to be close enough for P number 6 coming down into the bus stop? He moves his car to the driver's right-hand side as actually Michael Partington closes up very deep on the brakes coming into the bus stop. They're going to follow nose to tail coming through the bus stop and onto what is going to be lap 58 for these drivers. It's Kvekel.
Yes, it is. Kvekel and Orozco then coming together at turn number 1. Is it or no? So on the brakes, they go around the outside, and it was a little half spin there from the driver of Orozco. So Orozco losing out that time there to Jerome Kvekel. Replay then we're going to get on screen. Wow. Wow from Ricardo Orozco. It was that much of pressure that Jerome Kvekel applied.
Oh yeah, and it was very, very close to ending both drivers' races right there. Did you see how close Ricardo Orozco's front wing came towards Kvekel's rear right tyre? As actually we're going to have a look at Moritz Lohner as well. Still not able to get past Giuseppe Ragusa as we're watching the live pictures right now. But wow, just wow, Jake.
Wow, indeed. So Moritz Lohner now still stuck with Giuseppe Ragusa, but that allows Kvekel the opportunity to break away, and he now can run those lap times he was running earlier on to try and close down Isaac Price. And if anyone can close down a gap, it's Jerome Kvekel that's been doing it. Started P17, now P4. Out on circuit right now. Ragusa versus Lohner, though. This is what we're going to be focusing on. Lohner with a great run out to put on, looking at Fagna around the outside. That never normally works, but now he's trying to set it up. Second part of Fagna, Stavolo and corner Paul Frere. He's looking at right now, Connery, but again, Moritz Lohner stuck behind Ragusa. Ragusa is earning his money.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and a fantastic defensive drive so far for Giuseppe Ragusa, but can he stop this run from Moritz Lohner coming maybe around the outside of Blanchimont, Verstappen-esque? Maybe, surely not, but no, he just backs out of the move coming around the outside there and even drops even further back coming through Blanchimont, but it's actually not going to be the run. He's going to go very deep on the brakes there. Moritz Lohner looking for the opportunity coming down the inside of the bus stop, and also Michael Partington is in here to spoil the battle as well, as Moritz Lohner gets a little bit wheel spin coming off the corner. He still has the opportunity coming down into the last source though, and he's still not going to make the move. But here comes Partington deep on the brake down the inside of the last source. Can he get the run off the corner that he needs? And the answer to that's going to be no.
But he can have an opportunity then up through Eau Rouge and Radion, use the DRS and the ERS to close down on Moritz Lohner. Left, right, left up the hill, and now it's going to be another long slog up the hill. DRS now in play for the driver of Michael Partington, and look how much he closes up. DRS and ERS in full bore, and thank you very much. The ERS saving there for the driver of Moritz Lohner. He lets Partington go, as Partington now has a chance to get a go at Giuseppe Ragusa. Easy as you like for Michael Partington. He worked hard for it.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very, very opportunistic move there for Michael Partington. Just to let the other two drivers ahead of you fight, and then you might be in a position to overtake later on. And that is exactly what has happened there, and has given Michael Partington the opportunity to take what is going to be P number 6 in this race. If he can manage to get himself past Giuseppe Ragusa, but getting yourself past Giuseppe Ragusa isn't an easy task indeed. And also you've got Moritz Lohner all over the back of your rear wing as well, who may also be looking to reply to that move.
Yes, he is looking to reply to that move. So now Michael Partington then looking at Ragusa with an opportunity. I think Kvekel is too far away from Isaac Price right now to close him down, as it has been domination from P1 and P2 all day long. But look at this from Michael Partington. Had a little look at Ragusa, thinking about Blanchimont as an opportunity. That won't work. So now he'll go to the outside at the bus stop chicane, run it around the outside, late on the brakes from Ragusa, down in, and this three-car battle going on on for P7, 8, well 6, 7 and 8 shall I say, is still happening. Not a good run from Partington out of the corner. This puts him into the clutches of Moritz Lochner towards turn number 1 and last source. And with 5 laps to go, you feel, Connery, that something and a little bit of a light spark has just kicked off this battle.
Yes, absolutely. As Moritz Lochner struggles to get the power down coming out of the last source hairpin, that's going to compromise him all the way down towards Eau Rouge, but he gets this back by being in the slipstream, by getting the DRS as well. But Michael Partington will also have the DRS, and Giuseppe Ragusa has enough of a gap to defend down into Lacombe.
Yes, he does. Look to the inside then to try and scare the driver of Ragusa. That's not going to work for the driver of Michael Partington. He's got to find another way now to make himself get through. So now, with not long to go, you'd feel that there is an opportunity afoot here for the driver of Partington to get a very good P6 out of this event after starting 18th out of 19 in this field today, not setting a qualifying lap time. So difficult to set a lap time when you're doing through. Ricardo Orozco, though, at the moment is still on the back of Krekel, so that's not over and done with. And the resolve of the championship leader looking to come back at the very, very quick Dutchman of Jerome Krekel. So now Orozco feels he's got an opportunity at P4 once again, Connery.
Yeah, and it's going to be 4 laps to go this time by for these drivers. Roscoe has a fantastic run on the run down towards Blanchimont. Not going to capitalize on the move, though. No one feeling like Verstappen coming through Blanchimont. But it's going to be maybe an opportunity coming down to the bus stop. It's going to have to be maybe defensive inslayer. No. Actually, Krekel takes the normal line coming through the bus stop. Not really feeling under threat from Roscoe. A little bit twitch in the middle of the chicane there. But Krekel's going to get a fantastic run off. Looking back towards Partington, Ragusa et al. And they're all 3 coming through the bus stop right there. Absolutely nose to tail.
Yeah, they are nose to tail, so now they need to make that move. 4 laps to go in the event. Jamie Flukes to win 11 seconds the gap for the Apex Racing UK driver. For position number 4, though, Jerome Krekel under pressure as Ricardo Orozco will look to close back in. DRS will be open. He's close. 2/10, 1/10 of a second to the inside goes the driver of Krekel. Oh, they almost touch. They weave a bit down on the brakes, and you know what? Krekel's not giving this one up. He closes the door on Orozco, who has to run a little bit wide, and Orozco will be miffed after that one because there was no room given as Ragusa now side by side with Partington, who is hung out to dry.
Yeah, he is, and everything has just gone very, very crazy in the closing stage of this race. Moritz Lochner has the opportunity coming down to reverse block thrown by Malcolm Partington, and Rona is going to have to hang it around the outside of reverse, still not going to have the opportunity. He has to stay behind just for now. Meanwhile, Krekel and Orozco are very well. The gap has extended quite a bit between Krekel and Orozco, so Krekel may just have this, but the battle for what is going to be P number 7 still isn't over.
Still isn't over indeed. Partington versus Lochner, and Lochner needs to work hard here as he's deep on the brakes into Ravage, and he has to just hold on to that position. Still, though, does Michael Partington, because Lochner, he is trying to run in deep to these corners to try and make sure that there's a mistake happening from Partington. He's not the man with the most experience, and Lochner has a lot of experience of his own that he wants to test the driver of Michael Partington right now. So Partington under a bit of pressure then as he heads himself towards Blanchimont, and 3 laps to go at the end of this event. So now for Partington, he now gets that little bit of a better run, and actually he's now looking more like to attack Ragusa as they all miss the apex there into the first part of the corner. And again, though, here comes Morris. Look,
Partington.
He goes oversteer, talk oversteer. Thank you very much. Partington's inexperience, it does not pay off for him.
Yeah, tried to get the power down, got onto the painted line a little bit with the right-hand side tires, and then just spat him into the wall. And that's exactly not what you want to be doing, especially on the older tires coming into the latter part of this race. Just 3 laps to go for your lead lap drivers right now. Partington is out of it, and can Lochner catch up to the back of Ragusa with the remaining laps? It's going to be a big ask, but he closes up so much coming down the Camel Straight with the DRS, with the straight line speed advantage that he has, and now he has an opportunity over P number 6 is going to be. Meanwhile, Orozco and Krekel, that gap has closed up since the last time we saw it, but it's nowhere near close enough for Orozco to get himself by. It's going to have to be this battle for P number 6 to finish off in coming towards the end here.
For the moment, 0.8 of a second between Kvekel and Orozco, 2 to go at the line. Ragusa, though, versus Lochner is what we are keeping our eyes on now into the double left of Pouon and Lochner all over that curves, and they are slightly higher than what you would see some other more open and newer tracks be. So it's going to be a case of trying to respect these curves as much as you possibly can. In through the second left-hander, Ragusa was a little bit tighter to that curve, able to get a better run out of Fagna. Now in towards this right-hander there of Stavolo. Now to curve and pull Frere, and now the run they need to get through. Lochner closing in that gap, and you can see just how much he is pushing to try and get through using the ERS. Now he gives up on it because there was no opportunity to get himself along side by side. So for now, it's a case of how much more do I have to make of it. 2 to go is now the call that we're getting, Connery, and for that battle going on for P4, P5, a 149.2 meets a 149.5. That's not good enough, and outside of 1 second now is Orozco.
Yeah, Orozco is going to be losing the DRS, we suspect, this time by coming down the Kemmel Straight, but that's the same could not be said for Moritz Lohner, as he's still well within the DRS zone, well within having an opportunity here coming down into the Lecombe chicane. It's going to have to be a good run coming through the Eau Rouge chicane up the hill, coming through Radillon. It's going to be DRS open right now for Moritz Lohner, and defensive inside line already for Giuseppe Ragusa, moving towards driver's right-hand side of the track. Look at the run Moritz Lohner has.
Yes, and he has to stay on the outside, and he tried to turn into the corner, but there was a Ragusa there, and an Italian stallion holds onto the position, trying to just get himself home ahead of the driver of Moritz Lohner, who is using everything and a bit more. To the outside, he tries at Ravage, and 2 takes into the corner at the mid part of the corner, costs him the ability to run side by side. Partington is officially out of the event. Game over for him, 2 from the line, but still, we focus on this because it will soon be a lap to go, Connery, for the driver of Jamie Fluke, and what a race it's been for him.
An absolutely flawless race for Jamie Fluke. You couldn't really ask for a much better race than that. Getting a fantastic launch off the line to overtake your pole position driver of Fredrik Rasmussen, who had that incident a little bit later on at the Eau Rouge and Radillon section. But again, fantastic race for Jamie Fluke. He's on his last lap right now coming through Eau Rouge. Meanwhile, Lohner and Ragusa, they still aren't done yet.
Oh, they're not, and here he goes to the outside, tries the driver alone, and no room given at the end then from the driver of Ragusa, and Ragusa struggling a little bit there through Blanchimont. Defensive line taken from the pair of them again to the outside. Goes Moritz Lohner to set up the run through this second part of this very difficult chicane, arguably one of the most difficult chicanes in the world, and again, Moritz Lohner waiting for that opportunity to make that move. This battle, 43.5 seconds off of your race leader, Jamie Fluke, right now, so the run that they are looking for here, for what Lohner is looking for, is close, and is close enough. Good run here needed, into the left, now into the right, and now a final left here, up through Eau Rouge, Radillon as well, and now the DRS will be wide open, and Lohner full bore. The weaving is starting here. He moves to the inside, and there was no gap, but he made it look like it. To the outside, the pair of them will go, and now side by side through Eau Rouge, side by side, well, not even Eau Rouge, Lecombe, now through Malmedy, contact between the two. Lohner holds on to it. Fantastic between the two. Not over yet, but surely now Giuseppe Ragusa has to wait and hope. Round Blanchimont goes Jamie Fluke, and Fluke has been unchallenged all day ever since Rasmussen lost the vehicle in heavy fashion. Jamie Fluke wins at Spa-Francorchamps in dominating fashion. Pashalis Jurgis will finish in second position. It will be Isaac Price to come home in position number 3. But right now, Connery, you'd feel Ragusa is starting to fall back. Lohner is just about clear.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything left in the tyres at all, and it was an absolutely brilliant move coming down what was basically only a car's width of track on the inside there on driver's right-hand side of the Kemmel Straight. I thought there was going to be a major incident coming down to Lecombe, but Lohner managed to make it work, and props to Ragusa for not turning in on him at all either. There was a little bit of contact in the middle of the apex there between the two drivers, but Lohner manages to come out on top. Final corner now, and he will take pin number 6.
What a brilliant battle that those two have put on together, and two drivers looking to try and get up into the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Have a good opportunity. Still a battle going on as Evan Lathoris is trying desperately to close down Matteo Calistani, but I think that one is going to be too little too late unless Calistani's tyres hit the proverbial cliff very, very suddenly, Connery. But Evan Lathoris, he has been trying to recover through this field. P11 is not bad for his day.
Yeah, not bad at all, especially when you consider he had an earlier instance as well. Just put him all the way back through the field on the back foot from pretty much the start. And it's been a good recovery drive for him to bring it back into what is going to be at P at number 11 for Evan Lathoris. Maybe if he had a couple more laps, then maybe he could have done something about Matteo Calistani, who gets himself inside of the top 10. And then Eric Andre is going to have to finish P number 12, last car on the lead lap.
Yes, so let's get ourselves official classified results then from the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The Grand Prix layout certainly proved to be easy at the front, but the mid-pack was where all the battles were happening in the early stages and right towards the end as well. What a brilliant victory it will be from start to finish for the Apex Racing UK machine. The number 3 overall started second, finishes first. Jamie Fluke wins by 12.5 seconds over Paschalis Jurgis. Of course, Sim Racing, Isaac Price will round out the final spot then on the podium there. Jerome Quakel, your biggest mover and shaker in fourth, up 13 positions as per Quakel. Ricardo Orozco comes home 5th, with Moritz Lohner coming home 6th overall for the Hoytsinvelco Motorsports team. Giuseppe Ragusa finishes 7th, with Josh Rogers on the recovery back to 8th place. Manny Domingo will finish 9th, and Matteo Calistani rounds out the top 10. The two positive sim racing drivers, Evan Lathoris, new team, Gap SRT P11, with an Eric Andre of Real Championship in 12th. Mark A. Warmington and Stephen Larkamp 1 lap down. Partington fails to finish, 2 laps down for the Evolution Racing team. Christian Steele, Kevin Jimenez, and also Frederick Rasmussen and Rene Venderbosch also failed to finish on this one. But stay with us. The post-race show comes to you in just 1 moment's time. You're watching the iRacing Grand Prix Series on Racebot TV and iRacing Live.
There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Beginner Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time Oval World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
Beautiful racing indeed, especially on the final lap between Maurice Lochner and Giuseppe Ragusa. That battle for P6, P7 proved to be very good, but it would be Jamie Fluke who would take the big initiative with 6 days until the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series that will be kicking off from Spa-Francorchamps along with RaceSpot Race Day over on the 19th of August. But for this final lap battle that we had, Connery, because Lochner tries to make that run up through Eau Rouge Radion, Kemmel Straight. Bit of weaving there from Giuseppe Ragusa, which is a little bit naughty, but down to the inside, Lochner finds the one car width that was left open. If Ragusa stayed on that right-hand side, Lochner would have had to have backed out of that one, and it would have made life a lot more difficult. But side by side for 3 corners, absolutely beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful racing and beautiful racecraft as well. Apart from a little bit of contact coming through Melody, that move was absolutely flawless for Maurice Lochner. I didn't think he had the guts to go for the inside line there. It was just enough space to fit his car in their driver's right-hand side. I didn't think he was going to make it, but he managed to make it. A staunch defense from Giuseppe Ragusa, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. Wasn't enough indeed, but let's talk about Fredrik Rasmussen for a little bit, because he qualifies 0.4 of a second quicker than Jamie Fluke, and that's very difficult to do on a good day. So for Fredrik Rasmussen, 0.4 of a second, if you think Jamie Fluke is a top 5 driver in qualifying at times at any circuit that he tries to go to, Rasmussen could be a real challenger next year if he decides to qualify for Road to Pro. Yeah, I think he definitely will be. Out-qualifying Jamie Fluke by multiple tenths of a second isn't really an easy feat to do. And, well, he could be a force to be reckoned with in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series should he decide to go for it. But here's a replay of the start and the fantastic start that Jamie Fluke managed to get himself off the line. And that was basically his race from then on forward, especially when Rasmussen went out on lap number 4. Yes, and with Rasmussen having that big oversteer moment into the middle of the circuit, you felt that Jamie Fluke from there would have no challenges. And Jamie Fluke, the perfect start down into La Source. It is a shorter run down in towards turn number 1 at Spa-Francorchamps, but it was one that Jamie Fluke completely managed to ace once again. Apex Racing UK, certainly known for a very good starting procedure, but you know, for the time being, it's been a good start for Jamie Fluke, but that's going to be the finish for us here at RaceSpot TV. Thank you so much to everyone who has been watching at home, all the drivers, all the teams. Big thanks have to go to Blue Flag Racing for helping to support this broadcast, and of course the likes of ATVO, our official graphics engine here at RaceSpot TV, the likes of Anwen Designs, the official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV. You've also got the likes of Istvan Balog's track camera packs for gourmets. They are fantastic. Make sure that you get a hold of them yourself. And for the time being, that has been Mr. Paul Smith behind the cameras. That has been Mr. Connery Maddick. I've been #DoYouMindJake Sparey. And after all of this, Fluke will be happy with a 6-day wait for his World Championship escapade. But for those drivers who are making their ways through, there are a lot of people who have a lot of potential. Have a good one.